Rahul Gandhi will be the role model for my grandchildren. Unfortunately for my children, when they were growing up, Rahul Gandhi was a school kid, and therefore they did not have the kind of role model that he has since then become, that young people in India, everywhere in India, can benefit from. I recommend this very strongly to parents throughout India to tell their children and their grandchildren about Rahul Gandhi. As you quite clearly know, I have no political interest in this matter. My interest is purely human, cultural, and contextual. Let me explain what I mean. If you look at the National Crime Bureau records, you will be alarmed to see the worrisome increase in suicide rates. Young people in their tens and thousands are committing suicide. And if you look into the details of these unfortunate episodes, you will find that in a majority of cases, the provocations that made young people take the extreme step were actually flimsy. So what this means is that for whatever reasons, there are reasons for it, and we can discuss those reasons on a later occasion. For whatever reasons, in the way we nurture our children, we do not give them the opportunity, the training, and the encouragement to develop their willpower. Now, the balance of life is upset, not merely because the pressures of life are unbearable, but even more so because individuals do not develop the required willpower to breast the full thrust of life. To understand this, let's use an analogy from nature. You think of a tree that stands on a hilltop. If the tree has sent its roots deep down, it will stand its ground even if strong gusts, strong winds shake it thoroughly. On the other hand, if the tree has no deep roots, it will fall the moment a strong gust pushes it. So it's not merely the strength of the gust that causes the tree to fall, it's also the shallowness of the tree which does not enable it or strengthen it to stand the thrust of the gust. The same principle applies to human life as well. Now, we are living the present generation, unlike my generation, we have had to go through a lot of difficulties in life, and therefore, we have developed an extraordinary degree of hardihood. So, we are not easily upset by the twists and turns of life. We have learned to endure a lot, and looking back, I feel that it's a good thing that we have had to endure and thereby become stronger. Our children and grandchildren these days are growing up in a culture of comfort and ease. Everything is served to them on a platter. Their convenience is prioritized by the family. They have everything going for them, and they are protected from the struggle of life. So they do not have opportunities to develop the strength or will it takes to face the challenges of life. If a person is used to a very easy way of life, free from or protected from the challenges of life, the first time a real challenge hits him, it will shatter him, devastate him. Let's use an illustration to understand this better. A person develops his or her standard of dealing with external pressures in terms of past experiences. If all through life a young person, say now at the age of 15, 16, 17, if all through the past 15, 16, 17 years of life, a growing child and now into his or her teens has been used to a very easy way of life, free from any challenges, resistance, pressures, inconvenience, then that person gets used to a very easygoing, laid back kind of life free from inconveniences, struggles, difficulties, stumbling blocks. Life must be smooth sailing. But life is not always smooth sailing. It is not smooth sailing even for the greatest emperors of the world. Life confronts every individual with its own conundrums. It exacts its pound of flesh from everyone. A time will come sooner than later when every individual's willpower will be put to the test. That's the even-handedness of life. You may be the offspring of a king. You may be the child of an ordinary person. Someday life will get at you. At that time you will know whether or not you are ready for life. And my worry is that children who are brought up in this artificial way, free from the struggles of life, are not allowed the opportunities to develop their willpower. Therefore, when life puts them to the test as they emerge from the umbrella of parental protection, when life puts them to the test for the first time, they just collapse. They don't know how to handle the situation. They are bewildered. They panic. And in their panic, they take irrational decisions. And one such decision could well be to end life, to take the extreme step, as it were. This is one reason why suicide rates are going up through the roof. So if parents are really interested in the long-term well-being of their children or their grandchildren, they will certainly do all they can. They would want very much to do all they can to help their children and grandchildren develop very strong willpower so that they can endure. The importance of developing this inner strength, what in traditional Indian terminology was called patience, chama, patience. It's a tremendous strength. And it's a horrible mistake to neglect the duty to develop the willpower so that one is equipped to fight the battles of life. Now, unfortunately, insofar as our children are living up in a culture of leisure, culture of easygoing, laid-back kind of life, as I said a while ago, they do not have the opportunities, occasions to develop their willpower, so they are weak. And in such a context, the likelihood of their just collapsing when the sting of life touches them, the very first sting of life, is very high. So, young people in such a predicament need an inspiring role model. That's the reason why I'm saying parents can help their children and grandchildren a great deal by pointing them to a proper and inspiring role model. And I have no hesitation in saying that they have an excellent role model today in Rahul Gandhi. And I'm going to say why, even if I'm going to be caricatured, pilloried, misrepresented, attacked, vilified. I do not want this excellent resource to be lost sight of, because I love the youth of India, I love children, and what benefit they can derive from this national resource today must be made use of and not wasted. Now, if I were counseling my grandchildren, grandchildren now are, I have 4 grandchildren. The eldest is 9 years old, the youngest is 4.5, 5 years old. If I am counseling my grandchildren, I would tell them, look, I want to tell you about a young person called Rahul Gandhi. Now, he belonged to a very uh, well-to-do family, a privileged family. And there is this assumption that people or children who grow up in these privileged families tend to be very weak and incapable because they are protected from the challenges of life. So it's not a good thing to be protected from the difficult situations in life. If you get used to everything done for them by parents, as is now mostly the case, even getting your bags ready for school is usually done by parents. Sometimes parents do even the homework in order to make life a little easier for their children. All this is not helping young people. So in the case of Rahul Gandhi, he grew up in such a privileged home, and therefore everybody thought that he would be a weakling. So when finally he decided to enter the very challenging field of politics, people thought that he would not last even 3 months. And people who did not like his coming into politics, and people who thought or feared that his coming into politics would be hugely inconvenient to them, launched a massive program of demoralizing them. They thought that this young man, who is totally inexperienced in the wily theater of politics, would be easily intimidated, and he could be made to flee if sufficient pressure is mounted on them. So they decided to do that. How did they do that? First of all, they began to say from all sides, wherever this young man turned, they would say, "Oh, you are an idiot. Oh, you are good for nothing. You are a pappu. You are a kippu. No good will come of you. You are unfit for this kind of thing. You are never a leader. You are such a foolish little thing. You have no qualities of being a leader. You are in the wrong place. Now go and enjoy yourself somewhere else. Don't come into politics. This is not the field for you." Now imagine a young person, say in the 30, 35 years of age, being told day in and day out by hundreds of people, thousands of people, "Look, you're good for nothing. Politics is not your field. Please go and play your game somewhere else." You will take it for 1 day, 10 days, maybe 2 months, 3 months. After that, you will collapse and you will run away. You will be completely demoralized. But what did this young man do? He stood his ground. He did not fight with those who were trying to demoralize him. He simply ignored them, and he pursued his mission in life. He wanted to make a difference for the better. He wanted to revive his party, which had lost much of his grounds throughout the country, and therefore reviving an old party is not an easy thing. It's a lot more difficult than starting a new party. So this young, inexperienced person, absolutely fresh and new to politics, accepts for himself a pretty stiff task, in the opinion of many, an impossible task of reviving a nearly moribund party, a party which has a great history, but a party that had fallen upon evil days and had lost popular support very steadily. So when he came into the field, the plight of his party was pretty poor. Therefore, no one gave him a ghost of a chance to revive the party and to make it fighting fit. Now, the other demoralization he had to face was that in the several elections that he campaigned, his party lost and lost and lost. He had to face a series of very, very heartbreaking losses. And you know how difficult it is to cope with losses. One loss, particularly loss which is watched by the country as a whole, can actually demoralize you. The second loss can devastate you. And the third loss can drive you out of the field completely. But what did this young man do? He stood his ground. He refused to be intimidated. He refused to give in to despair. He said, "I'll try again. I'll work harder. I have to do this work. So I will make a better effort next time." Each time, through his defeats, he improved himself. Smaller people will allow themselves to be demoralized, destroyed, and driven away from the particular sphere of work. but a young person of substance stood his ground. Through every defeat he learned, he improved, and he became better and better and better. And his stature grew and grew and grew till the people of India began to realize that all the wrong campaign, all the vilification campaigns mounted against him was absolutely malicious and ill-founded. And this began to make people respect him more and more and more, and therefore the people's respect for this young man, Rahul Gandhi, began to increase day by day. The story does not end there. Then when he became a member of parliament, in order to demoralize him further and to insult him in public, cases were mounted against him. And in one of the cases, he was found guilty. And as per the rule, he had to forfeit his member of the Lok Sabha. And when a person forfeits his membership in the Lok Sabha, he also loses the accommodation allotted to MPs. So in full public view, he was made to vacate the house. He was cast out of Lok Sabha. It's a terrible humiliation. But this young man took it without flinching. And he began to work even with greater determination than before. And as a result, he began to see success. So, the story of Rahul Gandhi is the story of how patience pays over time, how willpower enables human beings to stand steadfast in times of difficulty, in times of testing, in times of privation. Patience enables us to grow through the difficult times that we face and acquire a far greater degree of maturity than we otherwise would. And finally, patience will enable you to prevail. It is not what others do to you that matters in the end. It is what you do with your life that matters. And in that agenda, in that mission, it is your patience and the willpower that grows through patience, your willingness to struggle and soldier on in spite of the heavy odds stacked against you, in spite of the mighty forces that are ganged up against you. It is this tremendous, commendable willpower that stands you in good stead. And therefore, if you examine the life of Sri Rahul Gandhi, that's what I would tell my grandchildren, if you examine the life of Sri Rahul Gandhi, you will realize that adversity can also be turned to your advantage, because adversity enabled Rahul Gandhi to become a more mature and stronger person with greater confidence to face adversities and challenges. And because he emerged better through the various challenges that were thrown at him, his stature became far more inspiring to people all over the country. And therefore, in a short span of time, his national rating has registered a tremendous, incredible improvement. That is to say, his patience has enabled him to prevail, not merely to prevail, but also to become a force to reckon with. So, when you face into difficulties, when the sting of life gets you, when all does not go well with you, and when the odds are stacked against you, do not get discouraged. Do not give up hope. Do not throw in the towel. Hold on. Soldier on. Life has its own mode of justice. Life will do its justice to you. Just endure. Refuse to be beaten, refuse to be defeated, refuse to be demoralized. There is a God of justice, and He supervises the affairs of the world. No human being can finally destroy you. Your life is in the hand of the Almighty. If you have faith in God, you will endure these dark and difficult moments. And as you do so, unknown to yourself, You will grow and grow till your stature will begin to surprise many people. And with that, the tide will turn in your favor. And I'll also quote to them a line from an old poem, and no one knows who has written that poem. And the line is like this: those who came to scoff remained to pray. That's what happens when you show patience, and through patience you grow, develop your willpower to fight the battles of life and to prevail. What will happen? Those who come to scoff, those who come to ridicule, those who come to show you as a poor specimen of humanity, those who spit on your face, those who came to scoff remained to pray. So if Rahul Gandhi was an object of ridicule 10 years ago, today, make no doubt, he is an object of admiration. And I hear this chorus of praise, this huge acclaim, rising like a beautiful strain of rhapsody from all corners of this country. And the vindication of a young person of good intentions is a very reassuring thing. And the youth of India must feel particularly happy that this is happening right in front of them, and they can draw a great deal of inspiration from this experience, a contemporary story, a contemporary life, and it's happening right in front of you. This is not a fairy tale, though it sounds like a fairy tale. This is the reality, and this reality can inspire you and enable you to abide the dark hours of the night. Let me end this reflection by quoting a beautiful line from a psalm in the Old Testament of the Bible. I think it's Psalm 30, where it says, "Weeping may endure the night, but joy comes in the morning. Weeping may endure through the night, but joy comes in the morning." And young people must believe in that morning that is surely shaping itself behind the curtain of night. That's the poetic justice of life. And if you abandon your hope, your faith in this poetic justice of life, I'm afraid there will be nothing left for you to bank on. And that will aggravate your helplessness, that will paralyze you or drive you to desperation. It should not happen to you. Take heart. Believe in yourself. Believe also in the larger justice of life. Thank you. Jai Hind.